It's currently 5 minutes. 5 minutes to showtime. 5 minutes? That's entirely too many minutes. What is this, an opera? What a jip. I came to see a show, not to watch this jerk while he types and drinks his soda water. Hello, this is Bernie Sanders. Thanks for tuning in to see Pursuit of Happiness Radio on Facebook Live, which is a very fancy way to witness right-wing propaganda.
There is currently 4 minutes and 30 seconds to showtime.
Please stand by. Pursuit of Happiness Radio will begin shortly.
What the hell is he wearing anyway? This guy dresses like a bum. If I was his program director, I'd send him back to put on some more professional attire. He looks like the guy who I would pay to clean my pool. I know what you're thinking. Why does a socialist have a pool? You wouldn't understand. It's a socialist thing.
There is currently 4 minutes to showtime.
I hope this show isn't too long. I have a pot full of unspecified meat on the stove that needs tending. Ken Webster, huh? I've seen cadavers with more presence than him. Why does this schlemiel have 2 computer screens? There are those who can't even afford 1 screen. Unless you count their smartphones, which in that case renders my argument completely useless.
Please stand by. There is 3 minutes and 30 seconds to showtime.
Is Pursuit of Happiness a libertarian show? God, I hope not. I'm sure all he'll talk about is pot and sex workers. I bet this schmuck wears sandals with socks.
The show will begin shortly. Please stand by.
Pursuit of Happiness should be called The Search for My Xanax. I'm sure this will be awful.
In America, you have a right to be stupid.
3 minutes to showtime.
The show will begin in exactly 3 minutes.
Not that I approve of Xanax, mind you. I can't stand Big Pharma, but that's neither here nor there. Does this man know people can see him before showtime? It's a little voyeuristic for me, but I just can't look away. It's like watching a monkey in a zoo. Not a particularly handsome monkey, I might say.
The show will begin shortly. Please stand by.
2 minutes and 30 seconds to showtime.
Hello, this is Bernie Sanders. Thanks for tuning in to see Pursuit of Happiness Radio on Facebook Live, which is a very fancy way to witness right-wing propaganda. I wonder if I took my blood pressure medication today. I'm sure I'll need it for this train wreck of a man.
It's incendiary, it's offensive, and people can get hurt.
I guess I should have a snack while watching this dreck.
This train wreck will begin in 2 minutes.
Please stand by. 2 minutes to showtime.
I'm down to lightly salted almonds and cinnamon rice cakes. However, I'm sure Pursuit of Happiness Radio will for sure ruin my appetite.
It's wrong. It's wrong.
The show will begin shortly. Please stand by.
I hope that airtight room has decent ventilation. If he farts, it could have dire consequences.
Oh God, that show is so dumb.
Weren't you offended by that? I was just offended by that.
1 minute and 30 seconds to showtime.
This show is broken, has not even begun yet. Good! This show's unairable.
It is a thrill. I love this show.
The show will begin shortly. Please stand by.
I just want to go on record as saying that I found that joke barbarously offensive.
No wonder you hate the show. You're everything we make fun of. You're Jewish, conservative, pro-life, born again.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Just putting some last-minute touches on today's broadcast. Good to see you. Hope everybody's awesome. I hope you are safe and happy and sound wherever you may be. 713-212-5950 is the number to call in today. I haven't booked any guests, but we might get a surprise later from my favorite lawmaker in Texas. You probably know who that is if you listen regularly. If you don't mind, share this video while we're waiting. We'll begin in just a minute. We're doing Fox News right now on KPRC Radio. That's what happens before we go on the air. But we'll be live in just a second. Phone lines are open the whole show. We're going to have a fun show today where we talk about nooses and lynching, which is not fun, but it will be a show, so there's that. Open phone lines, like I said, 713-212-5950. Sound off in the comments. Tell me where you're located today, and share this video if you don't mind. We'll be starting in just about 30 seconds.
Types and drinks of soda water. Hello, this is Bernie Sanders. Thanks for tuning in to see Pursuit of Happiness Radio on Facebook Live, which is a very fancy way to witness right-wing propaganda.
Please stand by. Pursuit of Happiness Radio will begin shortly.
The gigantic government sucks. Pursuit of Happiness Radio is deluxe. Liberty and freedom will make you smile. The pursuit of happiness on your radio dial. Just the cheeseburgers and liberty fries. It's pursuit of happiness time.
But protesters toppled the George Washington statue in Oregon. Isn't that horrible? That is terrible. It's tough to see these young people voting for Joe Biden when they're so mean to one of his former classmates. Leave George Washington alone. Today on Pursuit of Happiness Radio, NASCAR's Bubba Wallace, Colin Kaepernick, and Jussie Smollet all stopping by. It's going to be a star-studded program. We're just the whole program. We're going to have controversial people from sports, and they won't actually join us, but we're going to talk about him. Oh, Briscoe Kane might be stopping by, and Eskimo Pies. Enjoy him while you can. Let's get started with this. We start today's show with a frank discussion about lynching and nooses. Don't worry, we'll try to make this fun. Sort of. I'm just going to come right out and say it. I'm adamantly against both of these things. And I know it's controversial. I know that if I disavow lynchings, it might make you dislike this radio show. So be it. I put my foot down. But as much as I dislike the concept of lynchings, someone, or threatening someone with a noose, I also dislike faux hate crimes. There are very few things as deplorable and grotesque as wrongfully accusing someone of a crime they did not commit and doing so in such a manner that you permanently ruin that person's life. It's just as bad with a fake hate crime as it is with fake rape. We've talked about that a lot over the last couple of years. The Title IX controversy at universities. Well, here in Houston, we explained last week, we told you that Houston's own Sheila Jackson Lee calling for a national investigation into a series of lynchings of black men. She described it as an epidemic. And I agree with the fact that lynching black men is disgusting, but there's just one problem. No such epidemic is taking place. It was all fake news. Even the Houston Chronicle, they called her out on this, saying that a recently deceased black man in the 5th Ward was not publicly lynched. He wasn't even black. The Hispanic man had a history of mental health issues. He hung himself from a tree in a private lot. His family immediately told cops he was suicidal and they wanted privacy in this matter. We've reached a new low point for race relations in the 21st century. We have U.S. elected officials talking about public lynchings in an effort to get a reaction, and they're lying. And if the news coming out of Oakland, California is any indication, we've got a long way to go before reaching bottom. Nick Gillespie reports that Oakland's white mayor, that's Libby Schaaf, has opened a hate crime investigation after 5 ropes hanging from trees in a city park were discovered. Libby and other officials say the ropes seem to symbolize nooses, and she told the press that the police must start with the assumptions that these are hate crimes. But she actually knows that the ropes, sometimes described as straps or, tell me if you've ever heard of this before, swings. Are you familiar with these things, swings? I guess it's a new technology they just invented this year, where you rock back and forth while hanging from a rope in an amusing manner. They were not intended to be nooses because the black man who hung them up said they're not. Meet Victor Sengby. He is black. Thank you for telling the truth, Victor, on both being black and having hung the nooses. The ropes were part of a rigging that he and his friends used as part of a larger swing system. They even shared a video of themselves swinging on the ropes. For those of you who have not seen pictures of this yet on social media, imagine, rubber handles, a little wooden part to hold your hands. Clearly not nooses. Unless your throat is triangular shaped, you're not going to get hung with these things. He made a statement. He said, out of the dozens and hundreds and thousands of people that walk by, no one has thought it looked anything like a noose. Folks have used it to exercise. It really was a fun addition to the park we were trying to create. He said it's unfortunate that a genuine gesture of not wanting to have a good time got misinterpreted into something so heinous. I see people calling in, 713-212-5950. He is undeterred by such an explanation, the mayor, Libby, that is. She says, intentions don't matter. It is incumbent on all of us to know that the actual history of racial violence, of terrorism, what a noose represents. Linger for a moment on this, ladies and gentlemen. A white mayor is dismissing a black man's explanation charging ahead with an emotionally fraught investigation against him that could result in enhanced penalties. Yesterday in Oakland, a fake body hanging from a noose was found in the same area. The mayor called that a deliberate and vile attempt to traumatize the Oaklanders. It sounds like a good description of an effigy, but it applies as well to her insistence on investigating the black guy that hung the swing. So in moments of raw pain and anger, it's especially incumbent upon authorities to act with discernment, judgment, or this little word, it starts with an R. No, not racism. Restraint. Say it with me now, everyone. Restraint. Yet all around us, legal, political, cultural leaders drive in the opposite direction. Intensifying fear, hysteria, resentment. There is a 4-letter F word. It's the most vile word you could say in the English language. And amazingly, I'm allowed to say it on the radio with no consequences. The word is fear. Fear, my friends. F-E-A-R. Fear. Oh, they love their fear. We get to scare the masses. You know what happens with groupthink? One of the chief reasons George Floyd and Brianna Taylor were killed was because cops act stupidly and carelessly. And it's depressing and it's distressing to see officials acting so poorly in reaction to these news stories. Cops made bad decisions. Now politicians will say, here, hold my beer. I could do worse. And they are. Well, I mean, it feels like it's pushing in that direction. CNS News reports that in the wake of the George Floyd incident in Minnesota, 3 weeks of riots, America's in the grips of purported epidemic of white supremacy, violence that harkens back to the Jim Crow era, with noose-wielding Klansmen lurking around every corner. I've been lurking for these guys. I've been trying to find them. I don't see where they are. It's all a big fat lie. Actress Deborah Brooks, she explained, they're lynching our black men and no one's screaming like hell, so I will. The white racists are lynching black men in California, Houston, and Chicago. What? Ray McCluskey, whose Twitter bio sports the words end racism and veterans resist identifiers, he said, there's no way they are suicide or coincidence. I think they're all connected. Serial murders by lynching. What? Self-described foundational black American Tariq Nasheed. For those of you who know who this guy is on Twitter. He's the guy that will post videos of black people violently attacking white people, and he'll tell people why it's okay that this is happening in the description of the video. And amazingly, he's a blue checkmarked verified Twitter user. You know, the Houston lynching was fake news. Consider these cases that Sheila Jackson Lee is also using to paint her picture of a national lynching epidemic. Bronx native Demeek Alexander found dead on June 9th in Manhattan Park. Death ruled a suicide. No evidence of foul play. Family declined to comment publicly except to disclose that they are grieving and loved Alexander. They don't expect anybody murdered him. Robert Fuller, Palmdale, California. Suspect of a missing person flyer describing him as having a history of mental illness before his body was discovered June 10th hanging from a tree. No evidence of foul play. Malcolm Harsh, Victorville, California, recently found hung from a tree in his homeless encampment 10 days before Fuller on May 31st. His death initially reported by police by his girlfriend. He lived with her in a tent. Law enforcement authorities did not recover any evidence from the scene suggesting foul play. Family members actually stirred conspiracy theories on this, but since suggesting something may have happened, again, no evidence of anything. Reportedly had both a long-distance wife and a girlfriend. No known enemies. T.T. Otis Cooley, black, transgender, homeless person. Found hanging from a tree in a park on May 27th. Diagnosed with bipolar disorder, schizophrenia. By the way, the suicide rate for transgenders, 10 times higher than the national average. More than 40% of transgendered men and women in the U.S. have attempted to kill themselves. Now imagine what that does to teenage and preteen transgenders. It always makes me so confused when I see people on TV going, look, my six-year-old identifies as a man. We're going to mutilate his genitals or her genitals and hop him up with hormones. This will be fine, right? I don't want to get off subject here. I kind of already am. People are calling up about this. 713-212-5950. If you are on hold right now, do not hang up. There's a lot going on in the world of faux or fake or alleged or purported lynchings today. Some involving NASCAR. Some involving Hollywood, but they all definitely seem to end up, wherever they start, right in your backyard. And if you're a small business owner, you might find yourself putting out the flames that this arsonist of a news cycle has created. We'll be right back.
Love America. Fear the government. Listen live. Listen now to Pursuit of Happiness Radio with Ken Webster Jr., producer Kenny.
We are living in a bizarre news cycle right now. As great as last year was, it was a really good year. This year, there's so many problems all of a sudden. And sometimes it's hard to find happiness, but believe it or not, happiness exists. You can find it if you look for it. A great place to start, local businesses like Shaw's Jewelry. You know, they've been at the same great location for 50 years, over 50 years, my friends, West Gray and Montrose. And the reason why they've been there so long, you're not going to get jewelry at a better price than what they're giving you. Fantastic service, amazing selection, and the most competitive prices you'll find anywhere. Go in there, take the Shaw's Challenge. Tell them what you're looking for. Tell them about the price you saw. See if they can work with you. I think you'll be shocked to learn they definitely can. Their prices are generally 50 to 65% less than traditional retail prices. Don't take my word for it. Head on in there right now, West Gray and Montrose, or pick up the phone. Give them a phone call, 713-522-4884 for Shaw's Jewelry.
This is Outlaw Dave. Why like KPRC on Facebook?
Hey, everybody. Hello. Let me get caught up with everybody's comments. How goes it? I noticed somebody used Jeffrey Epstein as an example of a real hanging, and I think that's interesting. Well, the evidence will tell us the truth on that. I've wondered that myself. I'm being told volume is low. Hang on, I can make it louder. How's that? Better, everybody? Hope I fixed that for you. Sorry about that, guys. Hang on one second. Do you have my microphone muted, right? But it's turned off, but do you have the fader up? Turn it up a little more. I want to see what it does over here. Check. How's that? Better? Louder, everybody? Hope it is. Where were we? Gresher says, greetings from the police state of New Orleans. I hope to get there soon. I love New Orleans. Jalapeno says, rioters are dumb. I agree. It feels like everybody's dumb lately. Everybody but you guys. You guys are not dumb. You guys are cool. Christian says, listening from New Orleans. Greetings to all my friends in Louisiana. Ken on YouTube says, damn lynchings. Jason on Facebook says, don't take my cream of wheat. White. I mean wheat. I mean white. I mean wheat. I gotcha. Yeah, I'm going to play ignorant on this one. I don't actually know what cream of wheat is. Is it oatmeal? I've never had cream of wheat. I've never eaten it. I don't know what it tastes like. James says he's at Lake Chuck. I want to get up to Lake Conroe soon. Ken says, howdy, y'all. Alabama here. Greetings to my friends in Alabama. Odom says, listening from Pennsylvania on my way to the veterinarian. Y'all pray for my dog. Hey, everybody do that right now. Say a quick prayer. I believe in the power of groupthink, even if you're not religious. I think if we all send good vibes to Odom's dog, good things will happen. I hope so. Gresha says, we're taking bets on the Bubba Wallace thing. Is it staged? We going to give odds? I'm going to talk about that coming up, Gresha. And I hope the next segment I do doesn't get me kicked off the air, but we'll talk about it. Mick says, Congresswoman! Sheila, she's the best, isn't she? Dwight says, ignorant stunts like this just add fuel to racist fire. I know. It doesn't help. Joey says, thoughts and prayers for your fur baby, Infidel. I agree. You know what? You just reminded me of something. Hang on one second.
House investment team that can navigate a more difficult environment. I'm Rick Patterson with STA Wealth Management.
Do you have questions about your investments, retirement, or business planning? Visit.
I want to play the next bumper music. Cue me when we play. Tell me when I have 10 seconds. All right. Where were we with your very amazing comments? By the way, share this video if you haven't done so already. Let's get some more of your bros in here and your homies and your dudettes and your chicks and your babes and all and your non-genders. Bob says, damn it, it was several blocks south of the Nickel. Well, I think it was in Shady Acres, right? That's the 5th Ward, isn't it? Is Shady Acres not in the 5th Ward? I know it's confusing because I'm told that's like a nicer area in the 5th Ward, but it's confusing. Charla, hi, Charla. I love Charla. Charla on YouTube says, you have nailed it. There's so much fuel that has been added as of late. I am just disgusted at the current state of affairs. Me too. Ricky says, great shirt, Ken. My wife bought this for me for my birthday. Thank you so much for saying that. And apparently we're having the biggest retail liquidation sale in American history right now. She went over to the Neiman Marcus last call. Normally we are not a Neiman Marcus family, but my wife was driving by and she drove in there and there was a 60% off sale. And she bought me 5 shirts, and this is the only one that fit me, but I love my wife. It has little airplanes on it. Remember airplanes, kids? A long time ago, we used to fly on them before coronavirus and climate change alarmism. I know. It's hard to believe. Hang on, I think we're going on.
By Quicken Loans. These are challenging times, and Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans is prepared to help. If you need mortgage assistance, contact their team
30 seconds, everybody. Get ready.
From their home to yours, the team at Rocket Mortgage is with you. Visit rocketmortgage.com.
Hey, it's Clay Aiken, and I'm doing a podcast with Politicon, speaking to the top minds across the political spectrum to find out how the heck are we going to get along. But, since we started this 4 months ago, we've had COVID-19, worldwide protests, the deep state, Rampgate.
I'll probably get into trouble for saying this, but there are too many commercials.
So clearly, we've still got a lot of work to do. Join me and my panel Thursdays for How the Heck Are We Going to Get Along? Find us on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, and I hail
she's going to solve everything.
If someone proper now quoted by Sheila Jackson Lee.
She quotes herself.
Dirty kitchen.
Clean it.
You can't clean it with dirty Sheila Jackson Lee.
In the 20th century, lynching was a very disgusting thing, and for the many centuries that preceded that. And we haven't had a lynching in America in a long, long time. Depending on what news channel or whether you get your crime statistics from, I don't know, the FBI or from people on Twitter. Depending on which reality you live in. The real reality of really real world, or the imaginary alternate dimension where people like Sheila Jackson Lee call for an investigation into a lynching epidemic. And for some reason, I've noticed almost everyone on our side of the aisle is ignoring this, so I refuse. I've found plenty of evidence that none of this is happening. And, my modest, humble-sized talk radio audience, reaching tens of thousands of people, as much as 100,000 people in Southeast Texas every week, has understood and appreciated that facts matter. For some reason, this has not gotten out of our little bubble. It still continues out there in the grand scheme of things. 713-212-5950. Tim calling from Webster, Texas. A cool town with a cool name. What's up, dude?
Hey, Ken. Good to speak to you again. Ken, when I first started hearing about these so-called public lynchings, I knew it was fake news to begin with. But I knew it was going to take a couple politicians out there that are going to take it and run with it. Okay, and what I don't get is this. Why are we letting a small fringe group of black radicals, and I can say that because I'm black, basically say pretty much, we're going to determine what's racist and you need to follow along. When are we going to tell these people to go pound sand? When are we going to tell these people, say, look, man, we're not going to let you undo certain established institutions that we have that have worked for hundreds of years. If you can't deal with our society, maybe you should not be here. And I firmly believe that. I'm sick of it because if you keep giving in to these people, they don't want a dialogue. They don't want to solve problems. They want total submission. They want to totally undo what this country took 100 years to build. And we can't allow that as Americans. We can't allow these people to get away with this. At some point in time, corporations are going to have to stand up to it. Politicians are going to have to stand up to these people. And these people they're going to have to fall in line because it's a lot more of us than it is of them. And we cannot let the tail wag the dog. I've had it with this. This is throwing our country into chaos right now because of a small group of people that want to determine how society should look for everyone. It's ridiculous.
It's pretty insane, Tim. It's nuts. And, if you listen to this show regularly, I find racism to be disgusting. It's the most intellectually devoid principle you can have. It's of all the thought movements out there, the idea that one person's better than another because of their cultural background or their skin color, it's just completely empty of any logic or intelligence or intellectual merit. But the problem is,
that's
Tim,
what I'm saying, Kenny. That's majority of us believe the same thing. We believe that slavery is disgusting, but blacks weren't the only one enslaved. We believe that lynchings were bad, but we're blacks weren't the only ones enslaved. But why are we picking and choosing our outrage?
Right.
It's just disgusting. What else do you want?
Yeah, it's maddening, Tim. And Tim, you're a smart man. I appreciate that. And this is one of those stories we learned as a little kid. It was the boy who cried wolf. If people keep cheapening the word racism, what happens when actual racism occurs? Well, one of two things will happen. Number one, it won't get the attention it deserves. Or number two, and this seems to be the more likely thing lately, Tim, and I'm sure you know this as well as everyone else listening, there's this powder keg-like reaction where people have been tricked into believing so many fake forms of racism that something actually racist happens and the whole country erupts into an explosion. I mean, it's pretty crazy. Look at what's going on right now. We're supposed to believe Black Lives Matter. Today, National Kissing Day. Saturday was the official start of summer, and of course that means gun violence sky high in my hometown of Chicago. If Black Lives Matter in Chicago, boy, nobody seems to know it. 100 people got shot there this weekend. Dude, could you imagine that? 100 people shot in a city roughly the size of Houston. They say that by the time the next census comes out, Houston might be bigger than Chicago. We're growing rapidly. They're getting smaller. And over 100 people shot over the weekend there. Over a dozen tragically killed, including a 3-year-old boy, a 13-year-old girl, a quasi-famous rapper. You probably never heard of him. Tim Savage, or Trey Savage. I'm sorry, not Tim. Tim's from Webster. He's cool. Trey Savage is some guy that rapped about getting murdered and murdering people, and then it happened to him. Again, if Black Lives Matter, boy, I don't hear anybody complaining about Chicago this weekend. Even still, racial tension in America has spiked right now. I never thought debunking lynchings would become a common topic of conversation on a radio show I created called Pursuit of Happiness, where we were supposed to tell fart jokes about Hillary. That's what I had planned for this year, Tim. This year I had planned, I'm going to write, because I thought she'd be president, right? Boy, I'll tell you guys, from 2016 to 2020, it's just going to be jokes about Hillary. I'm just going to be dunking on her. And this whole thing took a totally different direction. Sure, you hear talks about lynching, but when do they occur? Last year, Senator Rand Paul voted no on making murdering by lynchings into a more serious crime than death by other forms of unjustified violence. And people got mad at him. They thought he was endorsing lynching. But none of them could explain why lynching was worse than stabbing, was worse than shooting. What about burying someone alive? No, lynching's the worst. All right, what if you fill somebody with spiders and then you use a poison that makes the spiders eat their way out of the person's skin? No, lynching's still worse. All right, fine. What if you hold somebody upside down into sulfuric acid while making their family watch? No, lynching's still worse than... What? Well, explain why it's worse. We can't. It just is. You don't know. You're a racist. Nobody could explain this to us. Last year, even popular black liberal comics like Dave Chappelle, a comedic genius, publicly mocked Jussie Smollet, a.k.a. Jussie Smollet, when he claimed someone tried to lynch him in downtown Chicago late at night during a polar vortex in mid-January. And over a year later, that case is going on almost unnoticed. He's still going to court for staging a fake hate crime. One of his alleged attackers was Abel Asundero, the Nigerian white supremacist brother who wants his stuff back. He's asking the city of Chicago things that'll sound very familiar to you: a black ski mask, a red hat. He's asking the city of Chicago now to give it back to him. And the DA is trying to decide if they still need that for the case. Other notable items: 2 firearms, 2 iPhones, 5 bottles of bleach, relevant, of course, to the alleged attack. And I guess he wants a script back from Empire, the TV show where he got to play an extra. There's been widespread outrage online today after a number of skeptics dismissed NASCAR's claim that a noose was found in Bubba Wallace's garage stall. Tim, have you heard about this? I'm curious what your thoughts are on it.
Yeah, I heard about that. And like I said, I can't trust the media that much at all on that because I'm just very suspicious of the media and how they report things.
Right.
So I kind of figured it was probably some kind of hoax. I'm sorry, Ken. I just can't take them seriously. I can't.
I mean, so that's where I'm at on this, Tim. After everything we've just gone through, if this had not happened after all the other things we just experienced, there'd be no doubt in my mind that it happened. But now I have to scratch my head. Well, now the FBI is getting involved. The FBI is investigating the discovery of a noose and the governor of Alabama condemning the act against NASCAR's only black full-time driver. Wallace 2 weeks ago suggested they take down the Confederate flags. For the record, not the first time they've taken down Confederate flags at NASCAR events. They were banned before. They're getting banned again. And they'll probably get unbanned when people forget that this happened. Disgruntled NASCAR fans drove past the main entrance to the Alabama racetrack yesterday, flying a plane over the track, pulling a banner of the flag that read "Defund NASCAR." The thing I don't get about this is if the noose was really put there by some racist hate monger, certainly Bubba deserves justice. I'm totally going to stand with him on this. It's a pretty disgusting sentiment. But on the other hand, if this is another Jussie Smollet type incident, people are going to be pissed, and rightfully so. The only people with access to that part of the track are traveling NASCAR circus members and the local track workers. That's the circus members is how one of my listeners put it earlier. I thought it was funny. There should be cameras pointed in every direction, backstage essentially at the NASCAR event. There's no fans there because it's rained out and the coronavirus is happening. How has no one seen anything? The media tried to wreck Houston with a hashtag, with the fake news story recently, but we're too diverse and tolerant of a city to feed into that kind of division. I stand with Bubba if someone's seriously threatening him. I disavow his actions if he or someone staged the incident. This is not helpful. This is how riots start. 713-212-5950.
Now, I'm not a fan of the government doing anything.
This is the Pursuit of Happiness Radio on KPRC AM 950.
Times are tough right now. I know I'm speaking the obvious. I don't mean to start statements with cliche sentences, but it's true. The economy's taken a dip. People are in a very bad mood. We're looking back on the past years of when all we had to worry about was impeachment, and boy, it seemed really great in comparison to what we're dealing with now, huh? Well, as hard as it is right now, imagine what it's like for really great nonprofit groups. When times are good, people donate to charities and nonprofits. They bend over backwards to do it. They couldn't be better. But when times are bad, it's very hard to have a nonprofit group, especially when you have a great nonprofit group that is literally saving and improving lives to people that deserve it the most. That's why I support Wheelchairs for Warriors. I hope you guys will too. Wheelchairsforwarriors.com. Go to the website right now. Click that green button. Make a donation. It doesn't matter if it's $1, $20, $5. You can write this stuff off. You'll feel better about it. It's a 501c3 charity. If you got a little money left over, you make a decision. You give it to the government and pay taxes, or you give it to these guys. That's how it works. I support wheelchairsforwarriors.com. I'm a proud donor. I hope you will be too. Go to wheelchairsforwarriors.com right now and make a donation.
The Ron Burgundy Podcast is your chance to listen to the most distinguished newscaster of all time. The facts of the day into his head.
When did this happen?
You will listen to him laugh. You will listen to him cry. You will listen to him do this.
We either have to get out of here or we have to eat someone.
All 3 seasons of the Ron Burgundy Podcast are available to binge now. Find the Ron Burgundy Podcast on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you listen to podcasts.
From faulty breakers to broken windows to leaky pipes, roofs, and water heaters, homes and businesses around the country can't work until the pros do. That's why Lowe's created credit programs that work for pros. With everyday 5% savings on eligible purchases, plus through October 31st, 60 days promotional financing on your Lowe's business account.
713-212-5950, but you guys already knew that. I like when people leave messages on Twitter because there's like a cool eyeball symbol there. It looks different on my screen. Skip on Twitter says, fuck. Took the words right out of my mouth, bro. I wish I could say that too. James says Walton and Johnson get together soon. God, I hope so. James, I can't wait to do a live event. We were planning, considering how the show's changed a little over the last year, as a lot of people know, we were hoping to get out and just meet people and shake hands and talk to people all over the Gulf Coast this year. And shit has really gotten fucked up. I mean, I know you guys know that, but I'm just saying. I can't wait to get out and do an event, hopefully real soon. Chris says, will someone please think of the children? On Twitter, he says that. Dawhike on YouTube says, people in power just want to keep fanning the flames to keep our eyes and minds off their plans. Fleece the masses. You know what? Beautifully. Well put. Fleece the masses is exactly what's happening. James on Facebook says, we're still chilling and drinking and cooking. Never stop cooking. Sounds good to me, man. Save me a bite. Skip on Twitter says it's called a lack of God. Says, hello. Hello to you too, my friend. Keith says Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. Dawhike on YouTube says, Kenny, I listen to you all the time, but in this case, I think you have chosen the wrong behavior to justify. Well, please call and tell me what it is. I'd love to talk to you about that. 713-212-5950. I'm not sure what I'm justifying. I justify that we all be nice to each other and tell the truth. That's generally the theory. That's generally the principality of this radio show, which is why it's called The Pursuit of Happiness. But no, I encourage you to call in and disagree. All are welcome.
You're in touch with Tuesday. You and your smart device.
Like KPRC 950 on iHeartRadio.
No touching.
One of the biggest problems with controversy involving lynching and lynching is a lot of incidents of fake lynchings happening. Columbia University, 2007. Remember black psychology professor Madonna Constantine? She made the rounds on Good Morning America, claimed she found a degrading noose hanging from her office door. Turned out it was all fake. Baltimore Fire Department, 2007. Remember that one? Another manufactured outrage erupted when a paramedic apprentice claimed he found a knotted rope threatening with a note and a noose drawing on its station house. Turned out it wasn't true. University of Delaware, 2015. Black Lives Matter agitators and campus activists triggered a full alert when a student spotted a racist display, 3 noose-like objects. Turned out it was all fake. Salisbury State University, 2016. Student, faculty, and administrators horrified when a stick figure hanging from a noose on a whiteboard was discovered at the school's library. Turned out 2 black students were the perpetrators. It goes on. Kansas State University, 2017. Michigan State University, 2017. Smithsonian Museums, 2017. Mississippi State Capitol, 2018. We're witnessing this all again. Let's take some quick ones real quick. There's a bunch of people on hold, and we have somebody we got to call here. Let's start with so many people on hold. Sharon, calling from Houston, real quick. Go ahead.
Hey, Kenny, I just want to back up what the man from Webster said. I think his name is Tim.
Yeah, Tim.
We are sick of this manufactured outrage, as you call it. That's a good way to put it. We're sick of it. These people are a small minority. They're anti-American. And even George W. Bush, I have to say, he needs to go crawl back under his rock and shut his mouth, because this is not a systemically racist nation. And we're the only nation, well, one of the few on earth that's actually dealt with the problem. It's been done. It's over with. Can we just please move on? And I'm sick and tired of hearing the leftist media drive this narrative.
Boy, Sharon, you said it. And, look, George W. Bush, I love his mom. I've always had a great image, good opinion of Barbara Bush, but the Bush family has been problematic, especially in Texas politics. And it's the same thing with John Bolton. When John Bolton joined the Trump administration, I lost friends. I lost followers for criticizing John Bolton. Yesterday, John Bolton endorsed Joe Biden. I guess we all see where we ended up on that one. Hey, Ahmed, real quick, because I got to get to State Representative Briscoe Cain.
Yes, sir. I think being a candidate for U.S. Senator is as important as anybody, That's the only position after the president. Which, the funny, interesting thing is, America is only black and white. There is immigrants like me who built America.
Yes.
And we're much more intelligent. We have more education, more money, more everything. But we've seen enough problems. And we talk about somebody like me. I'm a real African American, being Egyptian.
Right. You've called before. You're Egyptian, right, Ahmed?
Yes, sir. Uh-huh. And I have more education than any senator in America.
I believe you. Ahmed, I believe you. I love when Ahmed calls, unfortunately. And there's actually a few people on hold. I want to talk to all of you if you can hang on here. State Representative Briscoe Cain is on the line. Briscoe's a good friend of mine. I won't, I'm biased. I like Briscoe. I generally agree with what he says. We're both millennials. We're both small government guys. And Briscoe, something I had wondered on Friday, right as I was on the radio, something we haven't talked about today. First of all, how are you? Greetings. Happy Father's Day to a good friend.
Yeah, well, thank you. I'll have my 5th son come July 21st.
Yeah.
But, man, what's going on right now, as a business owner, it's got me pissed off. And I hope it's got you angry, too.
Yeah, look, we've been talking about the noosing and lynching thing for the last hour, but there is something that affects people in Southeast Texas a lot. And Briscoe Cain, he was Shelley Luther's lawyer. He's been on the right side of a lot of these important fights. We have been told now that small business owners are going to get bullied by the government if somebody not wearing a mask sneaks into their bar. This was declared on Friday. How many bars in Texas are you aware of that have gotten into trouble with the TABC, the Texas Alcohol Business Commission, since then?
TABC, since Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, has issued emergency orders suspending the alcohol permits of 12 bars in the state of Texas, 2 of them in Harris County, 1 of them in Houston, and 1 of them over in Seabrook.
Unbelievable. We have businesses over the state struggling right now. We're on the brink of a massive recession, and we're punishing people because someone sneaks into their business without a mask on.
That's exactly it. In fact, these orders are crazy. I'm not even sure what legal grounds they really have to do this. And it's not the business owner's kind of duty to make sure people are 6 foot of separation. That's crazy. But, I called the TABC and said, hey, what's going on? They said, we gave people a chance to make a living but they didn't listen. We hope more bars will listen. We use them to make an example. That's been great. So essentially, the TABC has just expanded the unemployment lines.
Right.
Great job, government.
So, great job, government. Up in Dallas, you got Clay Jenkins. He's kind of the same thing as Lena Hidalgo, Sylvester Turner. You've got mayors and county judges all over the state are pushing for this. And I noticed, Briscoe, forgive me, I don't know if I'm allowed to acknowledge this. This might even make me a racist. None of those people who are terrified now of a dozen or so people getting together in a bar had a problem with the marches or the protests or the riots. Lena Hidalgo said nothing during that whole time period. Now she's out punishing business owners. Is this just a way to get money for the county?
Yeah, it's about control. I don't know how we can, legitimize it any other way. I will say, I was told one of the bars shut down could be a gay bar, so I'm waiting for someone to say this is discrimination. I think it's one of the Austin bars, but no, it's out of control. And the fact I'm hearing,
am I allowed to laugh at that? Is that
yeah.
Okay.
Whatever.
Good. All
Over in
right.
Harris County, I'm hearing the county judge is planning not to actually enforce this, and so someone needs to call him out for it. In fact, we need to call out Lena Hidalgo and say, hey, are you actually going to enforce this? Are you going to show it with cops and give a $1,000 fine to businesses? Yes or no? What's the answer?
Okay, so if you go back a month, they were telling us the firefighters were going to do this. Over the weekend, and then on this radio show, firefighter union president Marty Langton called in, and he said, no, firefighters don't have enough trouble for that. I texted him about it over the weekend. I was like, is this something Sam Pena is going to push for? He's our fire chief here in Houston. And he basically just joked around. He said, God, I hope not, but we'll have to wait and find out. So what can we do about it, Briscoe? You're good at fighting these fights.
Oh, litigation is definitely the answer. That's why we didn't know if they're willing to enforce it, because if they are willing to enforce it, we'd love to bring some injunctions. Now, I will warn business owners. So I had a friend over in Crosby stand up to the government. They were telling him what to do. He kept saying, no, you can't shut me down. And the fire marshal did shut him down for having like the fire extinguisher hanging too low on the wall or something. So be careful. They'll find some other nonsense. But what it does show is they don't actually intend to enforce these things.
No. And the TABC is a bunch of fascists. I know that word gets overused a lot, but boy, they are. They show up.
Why does it exist?
I mean, that's a great question. Why do we need the TABC? Can anyone call and explain that to us? 713-212-5950. What good has the TABC ever done? Has anybody ever walked into a liquor store and they were about to drink some tainted hooch, and all of a sudden, and don't make dirty jokes about that sentence, ladies and gentlemen, and all of a sudden a TABC official runs in and goes, no, don't drink the tainted hooch, and in slow motion he jumps and grabs it. Whew. Thanks, government. I almost killed myself. Fortunately for me, a government agent was there to protect us. Right, Briscoe?
That's exactly right. Right now, here we are. We got businesses pleading with the government saying, please, dear government, may we please have our constitutional rights so we can make a living and pay our employees? Let's stop.
Briscoe Kane, man, it's good to call you a friend, man. Let's go out to a bar soon and piss off the TABC without pissing off the bar owner, man. I think that should be our goal this week. That should be the one thing we seek to do.
I'm in.
Hey, people want to find Briscoe on Twitter at Briscoe Kane. Briscoe's one of the good guys, man. He's awesome at what he does. A lot of people are calling in either to react to what Briscoe's saying or to react to what we've been talking about for the last 45 minutes, fake hate crimes. If you are on hold right now, whether you've been screened or not, I vow to get everybody on the air next segment. Quick commercial break. Do not change the channel. We'll talk to everybody right after this. More Pursuit of Happiness Radio about to happen.
This is Bernie Sanders, and you are listening to the Pursuit of Happiness Radio. Now give me all of your money, because that's the only thing that's fair.
Bernie Sanders will tell you, you got to give him all your money, because that's the only thing that's fair. The problem is you give all your money to the government, and they use it to bully your small business. The protesting and the rioting, that's allowed, but you're not allowed to open up. They're very mad at you about that. Well, the interesting thing is, if you only have a little bit of money left over and you really need to get the plumbing system in your home fixed, that's when you call Nick. Nick is available virtually 24 hours a day, and he's got the most competitive prices, 10% off drain cleaning. If you got a big job and you don't have the money right now, the financing is available, 12 months, no interest. They're just going to help you out. It's why they've existed in Houston since 1979. That's longer than me or my producer have been here for. You can call them right now, 868-9907. It doesn't matter if it's a big job or a little one, commercial, residential. They even do HVAC systems. It's getting hot out. Your wife is hot and sweaty and sticky. I've seen her. She doesn't like it. She wants you to fix the HVAC system. Call Nick right now at 713-868-9907, or you remember that website, nicksplumbing.com.
Our city, there's freedom here. Our stories.
There's a few people on hold. There's not a ton, but I'm going to get everybody on. I promise that. In fact, let me tell these people right now.
Jimmy Barrett Show. Up next at 3.
It's only going to get bigger, and we're all going to figure out how to cope.
On KPRC 950. Now.
Brianna's Traffic Center.
Chimney Rock, we've got a wreck on the left shoulder, and they're still doing some cleanup on that Southwest Freeway southbound ramp there at 288, blocking off the left lane. I'm Katie London in the 24-hour traffic center.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's. Lowe's is working harder than ever to help pros get the job done with a dedicated team of associates who only serve pros. They stock the top-rated brands you need, offer curbside loading, and can even deliver right to the job site. Service like that is why Lowe's is the new home for pros.
That when you need money to pay your bills, you need that money fast. And right now, the fastest way to get your government benefits or unemployment payments is with direct deposit to a checking account. With the Varo banking app, you can set up an online checking account with no monthly fees and receive your payments up to 2 days.
Shout out to my peeps. We only got a couple minutes left in break. Hey, if you haven't already done so, I know I ask this a lot, but please share this video. I appreciate your love. Thank you so much. Tag your friends in the comments if you think they'd like the show. Let them know about it. You know, I appreciate it. Someone says the sound is too loud. Hold on.
Bank online, and you can be sure that behind Varo is a team doing.
Yeah, we got to work on the audio situation. I'll be the first to admit. I don't know why it gets quieter or louder when we go to commercial. I can't explain it, but that's what it does. I'll talk to engineering and see if we can fix that for you. My apologies. Timothy says it wrecked my toilet. What are you guys talking about? Let me get caught up on your comments because I want to know what you guys are saying. 713-212-5950. There's a few people on hold, but I'll get y'all on if you want to call. Johnny says sound good. Everybody wants to go to a bar. Kevin says no tainted cooch. Bad hooch. I know. I set you guys up for these cheap. It's easy to tell. I put up the alley-oop for y'all. If you can't dunk on that, if you can't make a joke out of some of these references I'm throwing up, you can't make a joke. I know you guys have it in you. James says, I watch Westerns. Debbie says, fuck a mask. I'm with you. Hang on, I think we're going on. If you know anything about hippies, you know how bizarre that is. I'm friends with the hippies just like I'm friends with the rednecks. I'm not necessarily a hippie. I'm not really a redneck either, but redneck deodorant would make more sense than hippie deodorant, don't you think? Hippie deodorant, what's it called? Irony? There's 5 different scents. Pot, weed, marijuana, dope, and reefer. Oh, and patchouli. I'm told that's one of them. If you're just getting tuned in, 713-212-5950. There's a bunch of people on hold, so I'll get through these as quick as we can. We've been talking about 2 things. The fake lynching epidemic. I predict this is more than just fake news. If this keeps happening and we keep going down and down and down deeper into the fake news cycle on lynchings happening in America, there's going to be consequences. And I find that to be concerning. And that people have been calling about that. We also did a call last segment from our buddy Briscoe Cain, state representative, the most conservative representative in Texas. And he's going after the TABC right now for bullying small businesses on this mask mandate. People are calling about both. Let's do these in the order. Who's been on hold the longest? Gary, calling from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Gary, were you at the rally last weekend?
No, I was afraid that I could not get in, Kim, that they were so sold out on tickets, and I was so disappointed that I didn't go. You're not going to believe it, but the local mainstream media right here in town, and I call them mainstream media because they act just like the mainstream media, they tried to project how little of a showing that President Trump had. And, of course, we had one of the other guys from the other side in town the night before, and his crowd was so small they could spread out about 25 yards apart.
Yeah, the question is, was it TikTok, the Chinese-controlled smartphone app with K-pop teenage music fans on social media preventing people from going, or was it something else? Imagine how confusing.
I have heard that.
Imagine the sentence I just said.
They got on and brought all up. Got all the reservations.
Right,
that's what I heard.
Imagine asking somebody in 1999, were K-pop fans on TikTok using the Chinese Communist social media app to prevent people from going to a Donald Trump presidential rally? Imagine how weird that sentence would have been. But that's a thing people say in 2020. I have mixed feelings about that because there's this woman on MSNBC. They've been interviewing her, and she looks like she's Rosie O'Donnell's grandma, and she's the one taking credit for this, which immediately means it's not teenagers on TikTok. It's some old socialist. I don't know. But, Gary, I appreciate that. Here's something that'll make you feel better. Some people feel that Trump got one-upped. Trump told people he had a lot of people planning to go to this rally. There were still tens of thousands of people there, but not the million that some people projected. Guess how many people watched it on TV, Gary?
10 million.
How about that? Look, if you like Trump, you guys know me. I'm not like a textbook MAGA hat wearing Republican, but I'm not a liberal. I'll pick Trump over a liberal any day of the week, even if there's a lot of things I don't agree with Trump on. He's much better than the other option. I love the fact that they didn't want people to see this rally, and while they were taking a victory lap on it, the TV ratings and the online streaming reviews come in, and it's 10 million people that watch this thing, Gary, including a lot of them. The very people claiming nobody watched the rally watched the rally. Irony level palpable, am I right?
Again, let me go back to that local media one more time. They said that President Trump only had 6,700 people at his rally. And remember, the other side, their guy was in town the night before, one of them. And his crowd was so small you could spread them 25 yards apart.
Right.
And the local media did not say a single thing about that. But they talked about how small President Trump's crowd was.
Yeah, it didn't look like 6,000 to me. It looked like more, but I don't know. I wasn't there. Let's go to Manville. What's up, Don?
Hey, thank you for taking my call, Ken. Just a couple quick points. Instead of fining people, why don't you just go ahead and open up the economy and you can start taxing people again? That goes to, I guess, what's her name? Bennett. Bennett, I think is her name, the Harris County tax assessor now since Paul Bancourt left.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I wondered about that too. Is this a way for them to get money from the only businesses that are left in town? And you know, it's not, the answer to that's not exactly clear. They'll never tell us the truth. It's like when you learn that there are secret quotas for cops to go out and pull people over. They'll say, no, Don, those don't really exist. Secret quotas for pulling people over don't exist to generate local tax revenue or local revenue for government. But, Don, I have friends in law enforcement, and they go, no, that would never happen. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, pulls on earlobe. I mean, of course it happens. And in this instance, it's hard to imagine that's not what's happening. I mean, I get the impression that's what you think based on your comment.
Well, yeah, I mean, just let people go back to work. I worked all the way through it. Okay, I'm essential, I reckon. Just, let people go back to work and just tax them and let them feel better about themselves than spy on them and call up little Lena Hidalgo.
Right.
Or Rodney Ellis or whatever, okay? Thank you, Ken.
Yeah, Don, but just one more quick question for you. Whose job is not essential?
No, everyone is essential.
Thank you.
Everyone is essential.
And all lives matter, I think. I don't know. People get into trouble for saying that now. This will only make sense to old school Walton and Johnson listeners, of which many of you are. It is the infidel your imam warned you about. He's calling from Pennsylvania. He's calling from, where are you? You're outside of Pittsburgh, right, Evan? Odom, I'm sorry. It says Evan on the screen, but I know it's Odom.
Hey, brother, I'm about an hour and a half outside of Philadelphia, and a little testament to what you guys call your terrestrial footprint. After last night, I owe you, Steve, and Billy Ed a case of beer because I got pulled over by the cops last night, and I said, okay, be nice. They're having a bad time. Don't give this guy any grief. And I was lucky that I was actually wearing my cap with the blue stripe on it with the policeman's flag.
Sure.
So anyway, he pulls me over, and license, registration, insurance. Yes, sir, no problem. Here you go. And then he comes, he goes, just sit tight. I'll be back with you in a minute. About 5 minutes later, he comes back, and he goes, Odom, are you the The Odom, the infidel guy from the Walton and Johnson show?
No way. Are you serious? In Pennsylvania? Wow. How about that?
I said, yeah. Well, he goes, I put two and together because he had a Louisiana license, and one of my troopers is also from Louisiana, and he turned me on the Walton and Johnson show. He goes, yeah, we've been listening to you guys for years. I just thought it was so funny that I'm all the way up here in Pennsylvania, and some guy just happened to put my name together and recognize it from the Walton and Johnson show. So definitely next time I see you and Steve, I owe you guys a case of beer.
A lot of our listeners know this, but Odom, almost a decade ago, became infamous with 10%ers all over the Gulf Coast. The Walton and Johnson listeners, I know I don't have to explain this, but I'm just making sure. He called up and he told us live on the air what his address was. And he said, if there are any Muslim extremists in the area, come and get me. I'm ready for you. One of our listeners on our live stream is asking if you're sober right now. Jordan asks, are you sober, Odom?
Absolutely.
Because sometimes Odom will call us early in the morning, and he's been up late hitting the good stuff. How is it now in Pennsylvania? You guys are almost as bad as Michigan on the lockdown efforts. Am I wrong?
Well, there was a little place up here called Trooper Thorns, and I said, okay, let me take the dog out. And I went in, and I had my face mask on. They're like, you need to put a face mask on so you can walk 10 feet and come over here with the people that don't have a face mask. He said, you can't stand at the bar, but you could sit at the bar, but you have to be sitting at a table that's up to the edge of the bar. And I was like, oh, sweet Jesus, this is too many rules. So I finally got my beer, and I set my beer on the bar, and a guy comes over, and he's acting like it's the invasion of Poland, like I was snorting cocaine off of a 2-year-old's forehead on the bar. And he goes, well, you're going to have to sit at your table. It cannot be at the bar. I was like, we're talking a matter of 6 inches. It's still a little bit Auschwitz up here. Very controlled. You could buy ammo, stocked up on ammo. We have imitation daiquiris, which is kind of heartbreaking. And just trying to do the best with what I can. And I'm saving up for a good cardboard box so I can move down there in Houston or New Orleans and be closer to you guys.
What is an imitation daiquiri?
It's sort of, okay, just pretending, okay, because there's a big misconception between, like Cajun food and then, like, there's a million different ways to do gumbo.
Right, but there's only one way to do gumbo.
Yeah, they do their daiquiris. It's just not the same. It's not that strong punch. It's just not that home feeling.
I got you, Odom. Odom, I love you, buddy. Odom calling us right now from Walton and Johnson headquarters over there in central Pennsylvania. Be safe, brother. Hey, for those of you watching me live on streaming live right now on 3 platforms, the after show starts in just 1 second. So if you're watching on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, don't go anywhere. The show starts and continues in just a brief moment. For those of you out driving around the city in your automobiles or listening on iHeartRadio, my buddy Jimmy Barrett takes over in just 1 second here on KPRC. Don't change the channel. More great talk radio coming soon.
You are listening to the Pursuit of Happiness Radio. Tell the government to kiss your ass when you listen to the show.
Like perfectly smoked brisket, this show is done. If you missed anything, all the tastiness will be podcast. Check it out at kprcradio.com or our iHeartRadio app.
License number 17036. As if you don't have enough to worry about.
Your home can go from safe to scary with the next power.
Prepared with the #1 brand of standby home generators. Generac from Weeks. Weeks Service Company.
Hassle-free because a Generac is permanently installed. No messy extension cords.
And it automatically turns on when the power goes out. No struggling with a pull cord out in the rain.
Right now, get a free 10-year parts and labor warranty from Generac.
And get professional installation from Weeks. Weeks Service Company. Online at weekservicecompany.com.
Relationships. Everything I do is about building relationships. I have relationships with my sponsors. I have relationships with my neighbors. What if I'm not there and something happens? I want to know that they're there. Relationships. It's everything. If you don't have a relationship with your bank, it's probably because your bank is not a relationship.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for being here today. It's awesome being with you guys. Let me back up a little on the comments and we'll get started with the after show. The after show officially starts now, so tag your friends and share this video if you haven't already. You know, we've been talking about sports the whole show, and there is actually, the Bubba Wallace thing isn't even the biggest news story of the day from the world of sports. Very rarely do I get into sports, guys. I'm not a sports geek. I'm not a jock. I enjoy watching sports when there's a good game on. If there's no good game I don't watch, I do something else. So I'll be the first to admit this year hasn't been hard for me. You know, I like baseball, but I don't watch every day. I like basketball and football, but I don't watch unless there's a good game on. I don't miss a thing. And if it's not my team, I don't really care that much. But in other sporting news of the non-lynching variety, Gerald McCoy of the Dallas Cowboys, he got called out by team owner Jerry Jones for not saying a word about the death of George Floyd. And in Jones's defense, his mouth may have been rendered immovable from misplaced Botox injections. Like, we don't know. Don't judge him. It could have been something else. I'm just saying, don't overreact. That's all I'm saying. Now, since we're talking about sports, let's address the other elephant in the world of elite athleticism. Washington Examiner reports that former NFL superstar Brett Favre, pardon me, I almost hiccuped, is saying Colin Kaepernick is the next Pat Tillman. Excuse me, baking powder. Colin Kaepernick. Do y'all remember Pat Tillman? You guys remember this guy? He was the guy who gave up his NFL career so he could fight for his country after 9/11. That's what Pat Tillman did. It should go without saying that it's more heroic to enlist in the U.S. Army in the aftermath of 9/11 than it is to become an internet celebrity with a multi-million-dollar advertising contract. Yet, for some reason, it has to be said. So Hall of Fame quarterback Brett Favre, who's been hit on the head many times, so please, before we judge, just remember where he's been, has now compared the years-long soap opera of Colin Kaepernick and his unemployment to the sacrifice of the late Pat Tillman. Brett Favre said, I can only think of right off the top of my head, Pat Tillman's another guy who did something similar, and we regard him as a hero. So I'd assume that hero status will be stamped by Kaepernick as well. Excuse me, this is my shocked face. Yeah, I don't believe that. The comparison is flatly ridiculous. It's blatantly wrong. Tillman gave up a 3-year, $3.6 million contract with the Arizona Cardinals to become an Army Ranger after 9/11. Think about it. It's like, at times like this, you stop and think just how good we have it, what kind of system we live in, and the freedoms we're allowed. A lot of my family's gone and fought in wars, and I really haven't done a damn thing. That's what Pat Tillman said. So he went overseas to fight. He served in Iraq and in Afghanistan, and then he was killed by friendly fire in 2004. You're telling me Pat Tillman's sacrifice is worth as much as Colin Kaepernick? To his honor, he found that no NFL team, the Kaepernick story changes a bit. He was a mediocre quarterback by the time he started his protests. 2016 season with the 49ers, he was a backup. He had an unremarkably losing season, opting out of his contract with the team. He didn't get fired, he quit. And stop pretending otherwise. So, again, no NFL team wanted to sign a middling quarterback with major media baggage. Kaepernick sues the league. He's gifted a multi-million-dollar contract by Nike, including his own branded apparel line. Now he spends his time saying stupid things like police must be abolished and terrorist General Qasem Salami was a victim of U.S. imperialism. I bet if you walk around a local VA hospital where some of Pat Tillman's old friends are at, who don't have legs or arms, they would disagree with the statement about the Iran general who is the #1 state sponsor of terrorism on earth. Probably, right? 6 years in the NFL, Kaepernick's $43 million in earnings easily dwarfs that of the $3 million that Tillman turned down. Kaepernick did what was popular. He did what was easy. Certainly easier for him than achieving excellence on the field. He could have trained. He could have worked. He could have tried to become better. He didn't try to do any of that. Turned a career as a second-tier backup quarterback into a massive wealth and celebrity status, front-page headlining media personality. He turned around to enjoy many more years in the limelight because he decided to tell people America sucks as other people applauded him. Tillman, in contrast, died serving in his country overseas. Kaepernick sacrificed nothing. He wanted to become a caricature of a social justice influencer. He didn't go out and host one-on-ones with inner-city, low-income youth and police officers. That's not what he did. He could have had round-table forums on CNN or even Fox News with cops and people who were violently attacked, perhaps in unjustified reasons, by the police. He didn't do any of that. No, you know what he did instead? He complained about the system in sophomoric terms. He got paid millions by a company that has a history of exploiting cheap sweatshop labor overseas, including connections to the Chinese factory known to use the labor of interned Muslims, so he could get grandstanded and virtue signal on social media. Kaepernick is not a hero by any definition of the word. And to compare him to Tillman, it's pretty disgusting, you guys. You remember Muhammad Ali, the black Superman? In a recent interview, boxing icon Muhammad Ali's son insisted that his father would have thought the Black Lives Matter movement was filled with a bunch of devils. He did an interview, it was published by the New York Post. Muhammad Ali Jr., appropriately named, said his dad would not be a fan of BLM. Not into it, not down with it, wouldn't endorse it. He said they ain't nothing but devils. All lives matter. I don't agree with Black Lives Matter, he insisted. Ali also called BLM a movement of racist. It's a racist scheme, he said. Don't trust them. Don't believe them. They don't have your best interest in mind. He, in fact, said it was all racist. It's not just Black Lives Matter, White Lives Matter, Chinese Lives Matter. All lives matter. Everybody's life matters. God loves everyone. He never singled anyone out. Killing is wrong no matter who it is, says Muhammad Ali Jr. Wow. He continues. He says, there's no difference from Muslim terrorists. They should all get what they deserve. They're effing up businesses, beating up innocent people in the neighborhood, smashing police stations and shops. They are terrorists. They are terrorizing the community. I agree with the peaceful protests, but Antifa, they need to kill everyone in that thing. Wow. This is pretty explosive stuff for Muhammad Ali's kid. Ali turned hard against BLM. The younger Ali, also a practicing Muslim like his dad, appeared to give the police in America the benefit of the doubt. He says, police don't wake up and think, I'm going to kill an N-word today or kill another white man. They're just trying to make it back to their family in peace. I don't know much about Muhammad Ali's son, but I'd like to hear more from him. He raises some great points. He also slammed the Democrat Party. He says Democrats don't give a shit about anybody. Hillary Clinton doesn't give a shit. She's trying not to get locked up. Trump's not much better. Trump is much better than Clinton and Obama. The only one to do what he said so far is Donald Trump. Amazing. Remarkable, right? Muhammad Ali's kid. Someone tells me Muhammad Ali's son not getting invited to a lot of parties in Hollywood, but who knows? You guys hear about Senator Amy Klobuchar? Amy Klobuchar really wanted to be VP right after she really wanted to be president. Now she's removed herself from consideration as Joe Biden's running mate. She says the position should go to a black person, so she kind of went up to Elizabeth Warren. I know some people might be worried about Amy Klobuchar. Don't be worried about Amy Klobuchar. She could still live off the winnings from a Pete Rose lookalike contest. She is going to be fine. I'm not worried about Amy Klobuchar. Amy didn't become the Dem nominee because she's a power-obsessed megalomaniac. She wants nothing more to appear cool in front of young, super woke progressives, but she's not, and she won't, and she didn't. And by the way, you know, she's part of the reason why Derek Chauvin isn't in prison right now. The guy who killed George Floyd put his foot on the guy's neck. Amy Klobuchar was recently the prosecutor on a case, before she was a senator, where they were trying to press charges against that cop for a different incident, and she dropped the charges. Imagine that. In keeping with the sports theme of today's show, I wanted to address a question that a caller had last week on this radio station. Since sports are canceled, somebody called last week and they asked, what happens to all the local taxpayers who were forced to build new stadiums for billionaire sports franchise owners? And I wondered about that question, and now I have an answer. I am warning you, you may not like this. Eric Boehm published a report over the weekend, a shocking report that details how, despite the coronavirus lockdown, most of us are still paying for these sports venues. You know, you hear from time to time some billionaire that owns a sports team threatens to leave town if the local taxpayers don't build him a new venue. And it's happened before. Look at this. Y'all know about the Red Sox. The Pawtucket Red Sox final season was supposed to be hitting its midpoint right about now. 51 years in Rhode Island, the Paw Sox, they're scheduled to decamp to Worcester, Massachusetts next year. This is the minor league Red Sox franchise. Their city officials have used their eminent domain power and taxpayer money to lure the team to one of the most expensive minor league ballparks ever built. The coronavirus pandemic delayed, having its effect on this whole thing, maybe fully canceling the year of sports. So this team's season-long goodbye to Pawtucket kind of got interrupted. In Worcester, meanwhile, the COVID-19 outbreak should cause city officials to worry they might have made a huge mistake here. The Massachusetts city issued more than $100 million in bonds to pay for a construction of the ballpark, who adjacent is to hotels, office parks, a collection of apartments, restaurants, bars. Almost all of that could have been funded by private developers, but the city decided to take the risk. The Red Sox, they're supposed to pay off the $36 million on the project's cost with future revenue, but taxpayers in the area, they're on the hook for $70 million in general obligation bonds. So the city manager is a guy named Ed August. He admits to Bloomberg that the city isn't immune from the reality of the changes to travel and tourism. This is going to cause a lot of damage to the local economy and to the local government budget. The risk is obvious. Using a general obligation bond to finance a stadium is what landed the team in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania in dire economic straits after the last recession. Imagine this. American cities are going to lose about $360 billion in revenue over the next 3 years, according to the National League of Cities. The coronavirus pandemic is not just emptying stadiums, it's causing all sorts of economic catastrophe, including common tourist taxes. Stadium projects were bad deals even before the pandemic-induced economic shutdown. You know, my buddy Michael Berry talks about this a lot. The pandemic and the event cancellations it has generated seriously disrupting the financial calculations that cities made in building stadiums for taxpayers. Projections used to justify this little town's investment in a stadium were iffy even under the best circumstances, but now this is going to crash the economy there. Making a deal with some multi-millionaire to move your team to town is going to make life pretty horrible for the local taxpayers. Cities that bet on minor league baseball could be in for another surprise. Major League Baseball is reportedly aiming to reduce the number of minor league teams that are directly affiliated with the major league franchises. If the Pawtucket team, in the town where they're going, they're worried about missing out on tax revenue from the stadium project, the good news is there was never going to be a windfall in the first place. A critic of the publicly funded stadium who runs the Field of Schemes blog says, the bad news is that it's not very good news at all, and it never was. You don't hear about this much. I just thought it was an interesting thing to bring up today. The consequences of the economic lockdown for people who were forced to pay for a local stadium they never planned on using. I feel the same way about airports. I feel the same way about the TSA. Why do taxpayers who don't use these facilities, why are they on the hook for funding them? And imagine the consequences now for taxpayers with the lockdown. With all this going on, it's weird that I've done an hour and 15 minutes on sports, and yet it had nothing to do with sports. And I know what you guys are thinking. Kenny, we've been watching for an hour and 20 minutes almost. When are you going to talk about Chaz? Well, if you've been waiting to find out about the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, now referred to as CHOP, Capitol Hill Occupied Park, fear no more, my friends. In a series of shocking and stunning turn of events over the weekend, the cop-banning, anarchy-baiting Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone of Seattle has delved into death and violence. I am shocked. I can't believe a place with no cops, ran by anarchist extremists, has now become a violent, dangerous place to live. The illegal settlement, known as Chaz, suffered a shooting. Now they've had 2 shootings and 1 death. There may have even been more since then. I haven't looked at it since this morning. But Raz Simone, he's the supposed warlord of Chaz. He claims that paramedics, terrified of entering the region there, they let a slain person bleed out. Anybody who's seen the videos knows that is a fucking lie. Paramedics showed up with cops. The cops were there to protect the paramedics so they could go into Chaz, the anarchist-occupied part of Seattle, and they could rescue somebody that just got shot, a 19-year-old that could die soon. And the members of Chaz would not let the paramedic in because they were being protected. And guess what? The 19-year-old died. Regardless, that is what you get for illegally declaring an autonomous zone. Autonomous means you don't need the outside help. Well, it turns out these people needed the help. If you're going to break the law and illegally occupy land that's not yours with the sole purpose of living autonomously out of the purview of law enforcement, then you better not call us when you need paramedics or groceries or cops, which is now something they're doing. If you saw cops getting harassed and assaulted by violent anarchists just a few days prior, and you were the paramedic, would you feel safe entering a zone with zero law enforcement? If anything, this is the outcome Chaz dwellers surely wanted, isn't it? This is what they were asking for. Otherwise, it would have been called the Capitol Hill Freeloader Zone, which is really what it is. Chaz doesn't deserve to be saved, certainly not by taxpayer dollars, and that's kind of what they're asking for here. Last week on this radio show, we laughed at the thought of taxpayers bailing out that train project from Houston to Dallas. Now imagine taxpayers bailing out this shit. Wow. Chaz doesn't deserve to be saved. Seattle's mayor and Democrat Governor Jay Inslee, they've established a disgraceful precedent by allowing the area to survive this long. Over the weekend, Donald Trump at a rally televised to 10 million people said he's just going to let it, he's not going to do anything about it. Just let it, why don't we just let them fester on that? Let it marinate a little. I don't need to send in the National Guard. We'll let them handle it. And people were mad at Trump for saying that. Could you imagine if Trump did the opposite? Could you imagine if Trump sent in the National Guard? What do you think the very same people would do? They'd be mad about that. They would be furious. People have told me recently on this radio show that I seem biased on the BLM thing, that I point out the bad parts of BLM and I don't point out any of the times when they're right, and that is a lie. I've talked about Brianna Taylor on this show. Brianna Taylor is this woman who appears to have been targeted by police in Louisville, Kentucky in a no-knock raid. Detective Joshua Janes, he was in charge of this one. I'm going to reference things that happened in Houston, and if you get it, you get it. Joshua Janes, he is Louisville, Kentucky's Gerald Goins, put a no-knock raid warrant together, resulted in Brianna Taylor's death. She's a paramedic training to be a nurse. He said he was expecting to find illegal narcotics or paraphernalia in Dennis Tuttle's house. I'm sorry, Brianna Taylor's house. He was looking for proceeds from drug trafficking, paperwork that may be a record of narcotic sales, and concealment of the sales of narcotics. They found none of those things in Dennis Tuttle's home. I'm sorry, Brianna Taylor's home. When Louisville, Kentucky detective Gerald Goins put the case together, I'm sorry, Joshua Janes, I'm sorry, I keep getting the names wrong. Stupid me, dumb me, I am so sorry. The question goes out to the heart of the legal justification for the raid. Taylor's boyfriend apparently fired a shot at the cops. He mistook for armed robbers. He hit one of them in the leg. There's a wrongful death lawsuit now filed against Gerald Goins' spouse. I'm sorry, Gerald, I'm not even getting the names right. I was trying to say Dennis Tuttle, and in fact what I really meant was Brianna Taylor's spouse. But you get what I'm doing here, guys, right? This thing in Louisville, Kentucky, it's the Pecan Park raid. It's the Harding Street raid of Houston. And I find it remarkable that the Black Lives Matter people are all over this thing and they don't give a shit about what happened last year in Houston. I'm with you guys. I'll throw up a fist in the air for this one. Justice for Brianna Taylor all day, every day. I don't say that because she's black or I'm white or because I'm in Texas or because she's in Kentucky. And I don't support Dennis Tuttle because he's white and because he's in Houston. I want justice for both of these people because they're human beings who were wronged by a corrupt system. Guys, sometimes the cops are wrong. Most of the times they're right. The good news is this. We pressed charges against Gerald Goins in Houston. We got rid of the no-knock raids. I find it remarkable that they still allow that in other parts of the country. Is busting somebody with drugs really more important than risking killing someone? This is the police reform we need, you guys. Here's where where right-wing people and left-wing people probably have a common ground. I don't know, food for thought. Something to think about today. As you hear people talk about Brianna Taylor, now I'm doing it on accident. Just remember, these two things vividly mirror each other, and we could not get Dennis Tuttle to become a national news story because wrong skin color. Sorry, Whitey, no justice for you. Debbie says, fuck the Kung Flu. I'm with you. I'm going to get caught up with y'all's comments because you guys are saying interesting things. Jason on Facebook says it's Chop now. Macy on Facebook says, I've been waiting for you to tell me happy birthday, Kenny. Happy birthday to Macy. Macy, I never forget your birthday. I know your birthday well because it happens a day before mine. Could everybody please say happy birthday to Macy? I love Macy. Macy's awesome. Rick says, what does Chaz Bono have to do with this? Well, I think Chaz Bono would like to become mayor of Chaz. Amazingly, they've ignored him. They've co-opted his name. That is, I don't know if that's racist or transphobic, but it's something. Timothy says, on Facebook, Timothy says, Kenny, it's the same reason U.S. taxpayers have to pay for college-age girls to get abortions because they want to be around. They want to hoe around. Yeah, I'm with you. It's true. And anybody says that the money we give to Planned Parenthood does not go to abortions is lying. There's a mountain of evidence proving that's not true. Cody on Facebook says, Ken, I hope you realize how great you are. Paul Harvey would be proud. Thank you. That is so sweet of you. I believe I am still a student of this craft, much like Dwight Schrute on Office Space. I am a purple belt, although he was into karate. I do something a little different, but yeah, I want to be better. Jason says they asked for it. So yeah, let's let them sort themselves out. Fuck it. Nita says, what a load of crap. They wouldn't let the cops and paramedics in. The terrorists let that guy die. They really did. Glenn says, why didn't Chaz call their own paramedics? A fantastic question, my friend. Kenny says a hot zone cannot be entered until LEO has given the clear. Yeah, Ken gets it. That's Ken on YouTube. A lot of good users on YouTube. We have a ton of people that watch these videos on Facebook, thousands a day. We have a lot of people that watch on that listen on iHeart, and then the people on YouTube and Twitter are just getting into it, but I'm glad to have you guys there. And still tens of thousands that just listen on old school radio. One of the things I always think is amazing is I'll meet a listener, and they'll tell me they listen every day, and I'll say, oh, that's cool. Do we ever talk on social media? And they'll say, no, I'm not on social media. And I only bring that up to make this point because I'm talking to a lot of people who, like myself, spend time on social media. Isn't it amazing to think how many people out there don't use social media? Much like we've been told that Antifa or Black Lives Matter is a majority and they're outraged, and it's just not true. To the same credit, we've also been told that everybody's on social media, and they're just not. But, you know, we are, so fuck them. We're here. Timothy says they should call it the Capitol Hill Freeloader Zone. I like it, but it doesn't rhyme. No, I mean, it doesn't. It's not that it rhymes, but it's not an acronym you could spell out loud, I guess. Chaz and Chop work, but Chop sounds like Seattle Chop. Wouldn't you think that would be a place where you go get a $100,000 Wagyu prime rib beef steak or something like that? I guess it's just Wagyu, it can't be prime rib. You know, Wagyu filet for $120, whatever they charge. Nita says this is what they want. They want the president to send in the guards so they could say he's a fascist dictator, let him rot. Nita, 100%, girl. You said it. I'm with you. I'm giving that 2 snaps in a circle. Debbie says, justice for Macy. No shout out for her birthday. I just gave it. Shout out for Macy's birthday. I love Macy. Happy birthday, Macy. Shout outs to my homie Nick Baker, referring to me as Big Ken. I don't know if that's a reference to George Floyd or not. But what up to Nick Baker? Nick Baker's future city councilman for Houston and a future state representative. You watch. Mick says my brother-in-law got the shit beat out of him by a Harris County deputy. Well, Mick, I don't know your brother-in-law, but he might be the wrong color for justice. That's too bad. Nita said, yay, he said it, Kenny. Happy birthday, Macy. Happy birthday, Macy. Happy birthday, Macy. Today's Macy's birthday. Happy birthday, Macy. Macy, Macy, Macy. M-I-C-Y. It's Macy's birthday. And now you know why I'm singing this song. Happy birthday, Macy. Jason says happy birthday. Everybody's saying happy birthday. Polly says social media is just depressing. You know, Polly, I like to think that we are a circle of people. And I am not the ringleader of this thing. I'm just the guy that organizes the meetings each day. Maybe that's the same thing. I don't know. I believe we are a group of people who are irreverent enough not to let this bother us, but smart enough to understand that it matters, right? Like, I don't lose sleep over the issues we discuss on the air, and I hope none of you do either. But I know, and I know we're all collectively, we're cool enough to laugh at this bullshit, but we're smart enough not to ignore it. And that's what that is. That is what the pursuit of happiness is. That's what it means to believe in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The right to free expression, but the right to defend yourself. These are not rights that we got to that were given to us by lawmakers elected in Austin or D.C. Nay, those people's opinions matter very little. These are your God-given rights. And if you're an atheist, they are rights given to you because of your birthright. The universe that you were born in declares you have a right and a freedom to express yourself and to say when something's wrong and stand up and defend yourself and defend the vulnerable and stand up and speak for them as well. Because, God damn it, somebody's got to do it. Sorry for taking the Lord's name in vain. May I? Give me one of these for Grandpa John and God, of course. My only point is this, guys. We meet together every afternoon for a reason. Sometimes the other broadcasters down the hall, they'll say, what do you stick around for another 30 minutes for after you work? Don't you want to leave? No, I don't want to leave. I want to get on here and talk to you guys. You guys are worth my time. You guys are my peeps. We reach about 1 million listeners a week on the Walton and Johnson Show. Michael Berry has equally impressive numbers. My humble little afternoon show reaches tens of thousands, sometimes a 6-figure digit each week, of people not only around Southeast Texas, Houston, Harris County, Galveston, Waller, Brazoria, you know where you live, but all over the country. And even still, I'm happy to just get on here and talk to a few hundred of you guys every afternoon for 30 more minutes, because I want to know what you guys think about things, and I want to tell you how I'm feeling. I'm doing pretty good. God's good. Yesterday I went on a trip. I was going to go running over by Buffalo Bayou Park. I had nothing to do yesterday, and I'm getting to be a pretty fat kid, so I needed exercise. And I managed to find my way over there, and there was something wrong with my headphones. And you know what? Running really sucks when you can't listen to music. It's just true. And I said, God, give me something else to do while I'm here. I don't want to drive all the way home. And I turned around, and this guy was renting kayaks. So with nothing else to do yesterday, I thought, what the hell? I'll go. I'm alone at the park, and there's a kayak rental guy. It was $30. It was totally worth it. If you follow me on Facebook, you probably saw this stuff in my stories. I kind of had a weird moment yesterday. I got in the kayak, and I started paddling myself. That's pedaling is on a bike. It's a different thing, obviously. And, you know, Facebook and my birthday, they're not my favorite things. The older Facebook, sorry, obviously I'm running low on steam here. Father's Day and my birthday are not my favorite things for 2 reasons. Number one, nobody loves getting older. You know, I party all year. I don't need my birthday to party. And number two, my dad died a while back. And Father's Day and my birthday, they both fall right around the same time period. So I'm never really like, you know, I'm cool, I'm fine. Not woe is me. I don't have depression issues or anything. Don't worry about me. But Father's Day, not a real blast for me. And as I started paddling myself in the kayak, about 30 minutes out, it occurred to me I wasn't alone out there. I was out there with my pops. I thought back to when I was a little kid in Cub Scouts. I was 7 or 8 years old, and Dad brought me on a canoe trip. And I think it was about halfway through the canoe trip, we hit a rock or something. We hit something, a log, probably a log, and it tipped over the canoe. My father and I, waist deep in a muddy Illinois river. I was too young at the time to remember what river I was in. And I remember looking over at my dad, and I was mad and I was wet, but my dad was laughing. He thought it was funny. Dad was, he's a poor kid from the south side of Chicago. His father fought in World War II. He didn't have a dad around when he was a little kid. My dad told me once he only went to one baseball game his whole life with his father, and it was one of the greatest days of his life. And me being a little 8-year-old kid, I didn't like sitting in the wet, cold, muddy water. My dad picked me up and he laughed at me and he said, you know, Ken, someday this will be funny to you. And I think I forgot about that. I mean, I literally forgot about that moment for decades. It was decades until yesterday afternoon, paddling in a kayak for about 30 minutes, 45 minutes, wondering if it was going to rain on me, getting a little droplets of water. And I thought, man, maybe I should paddle back. I don't want to get all wet. I might fall in the water. Like that time when I was with my dad. And then that was when I kind of figured out he was there with me. And, you know, I tell you guys this story just to say, sometimes those low points in your life or the minor inconveniences, don't misinterpret what they mean. It might be years before you really understand the lesson, but there are no coincidences in this universe. I don't think there's any coincidences ever. Everything happens to you for a reason. Maybe this is going to go over some of your heads if you're not religious, but you don't have to be religious to understand this. Too often in your life, you have an experience that while maybe it seems mundane at the time, you realize later on that it's not. So I hope all of you will stop when you stumble across those mundane moments and learn from your experiences. Remember the good times, but remember the bad too. We spend a lot of time focusing on one and not the other. I think that's a big problem for most. You know, ancient Eastern philosophers talked about yin and yang. And while they weren't necessarily patriotic Christian conservatives or, whatever you guys may be, Methodist, Libertarian, Jewish, Republicans, I don't know. A lot of people watch these videos. Hindus, Muslims, whatever. They had a great point. And I feel the same way about history. We have to acknowledge the past, focus on the future, but appreciate the present. So that's my little rant for this afternoon. I hope you guys will live life like I do. God bless all of you. Thanks for watching. I hope you're happy. God bless Texas. God bless America. I'll see you guys bright and early tomorrow morning on the Walton and Johnson Show.